Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to MixLife episode 9. I'm here with Clayton and Concrete River, and we're just going to be kind of shooting the shit, talking about some new recipes and single flavor testing that we've been doing. Nothing too crazy. I don't have a lot of news to cover today because I didn't have enough time when I woke up to check the news to see if there's anything worth talking about, and usually there isn't anyways, so at least not for me. You guys can go ahead and unmute your mics and say hello while I finish rewicking.
What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm just getting chat open. I'm not on my game today, but hopefully
So we
that'll
got
pick up soon.
Shindo's up in here, Mr. Burgundy. I don't know who that is, but that's all right. That's all right. I don't recognize the name anyways.
Hey, everybody.
Excuse me. So JFM Development's up in here. What's up, bitches? Well, that's all right. I'll take that. It's all right. Just from you, though, baby. Just from you. So I've been working on a lot of single flavor testing this week and trying to bust out the rest of this Flavora line, thanks to Matt Digital sending me a shitload of sample bottles. So I'll be going over some of those a little bit later. What about you guys? You guys have anything crazy going on? Clayton?
Not really. Been extremely busy. I was trying to play around with Huckleberry this past week. Someone in the DIY or Die group was asking about Huckleberry ice cream, and being that I'm in love with the flavor because of its complications, I've been working with it. Just having a hard time, allowing some of the floral note to protrude through the cream has been my biggest task, and still keep it sweet, but, maintain that floralness that comes along with the Huckleberry. That's pretty much what I've been working on.
Yeah, balancing those floral tones from Huckleberry can be really challenging because it's really difficult to get them to be strong enough and not like perfume. Because they go to perfume pretty quickly, at least to me. What about you, Rick? What do you got going on?
You know me, man. I'm always on that single flavor testing grind. Been going through all the Flora stuff. I did the cinnamon, red cinnamon, fire cinnamon the last week. Did Flavora Heat, which was absolutely crazy. That stuff is really interesting. I'm kind of looking for like a good application of it, but for what it is, it's really well done.
I want to put that shit in some chocolate, man.
I already have. It's fantastic.
How did it go to work?
Yeah, I sent it in for my Mixers Club submission. It's that whole Cinco de Mayo thing, so I went with the Aztec hot chocolate thing or the Mexican hot chocolate. I named it Murder Ball for that. Yeah, for that weird game that they used to play where like somebody's heart ended up getting ripped out. So it's shaping up pretty good so far. I'm digging it. It really actually works with the chocolate pretty well, and it doesn't give you like a savory note like an actual chili pepper would. It's just like that kind of chili pepper heat to it. It's pretty good application for it.
That and some booze. I want to put it in some rum and see what happens. I think those are my two desires to try. I tried it by itself, just like with flavorless, and it seemed pretty cool, but I haven't had a chance to mess with it too much. Not enough to get the kind of detail you got out of it.
What kind of percentage did you end up using it single? Because I was liking it around like 1% was on the spicy side, but not overwhelming for me.
Yeah, I tried it at 1%, which I was terrified going in that I was gonna like get my ass blown out vaping it at 1%, but it wasn't that bad. It was really spicy because I'm kind of a bitch about spicy, but I didn't like break a sweat or anything crazy, so it was fine. It was good.
Yeah, I could handle it at like 1.5% too. 2% ended up getting like a little bit unpleasant, but it was unpleasant because it was too spicy, not unpleasant because it got like all weird and chemical or anything like that. So, I mean, if somebody's an absolute masochist or moron, they could probably drag it up to like 3 or 4%.
Yeah, I'm not that brave. Maybe I'll put to Emily because I'm supposed to 1v1 her on like Wayne's new 1 versus 1 mix-off things that he's doing. So maybe I'll see if I can get her to agree to vape 3% heat with me. Or whoever loses can vape 3% heat.
Yeah, that sounds more fitting.
Yeah, because last night I told her we'd do 5% brie cheese. But I think I like the heat ID better.
If you do that, you have to put that on video.
Look at Rick's face right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely would. Well, I'm not going to say I'm going to pay anything because I'm not going to pay anything, but I would enjoy watching that quite a bit.
I'm really interested in seeing how the fried chicken from what's that company?
Real Flavors has a fried chicken.
Real Flavors. I'm placing the order for it. I really am. I'm gonna get that. I got cookie and cream coming, sugar cookie. I have their yum berry and a few others. I can't remember right now, but I'm really interested in the fried chicken.
Yeah, somebody on Reddit posted that it wasn't that bad, that it wasn't like offensive, that it was pretty authentic, but I guess it sticks to your atomizer, so maybe use one that you don't use all the time. I got some of their flavors in, but I haven't had a chance to fuck with them. I used the strawberry lemonade the other day. It was decent. Nothing really to write home about. I didn't really get very much strawberry out of it. It was just kind of like a nice like lemonade fruitiness. But it was good. It wasn't bad at all. And the lemon cookie is more like lemon cookie frosting than cookie itself. There's not any. I didn't really get any bakery notes out of it, but I didn't let it steep yet either. It's still sitting in the corner, thinking about its life choices.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got about 30 of the real flavors sitting here waiting to be mixed up for single flavor tests. So we'll see.
I was going to do a bunch more single flavor testing, but then I bought sweet rice this week. And I kind of went ham. And I've already used up like 10 mils of it. It's good. It's really good. It's like a really dense like rice, like borderline pudding. It needs a little help to get to the pudding part of the spectrum, but it's good. It's really good. So I mix it with a little fresh cream and a little Flavora milk, some jasmine, and a few other different like top notes instead of jasmine. I have a mango one steeping, one with guanabana and cherimoya, and one with green tea. But I'm not real positive on the green tea because I use TPA's green tea, and TPA's green tea is really grassy, and I think they might have a conflict. I'd rather use Flavor Express, but I'm out, and they were out when I went to order, so. But it's good. I just dropped a new recipe today. Let's see if I get that screen share going on here. My thing is doing its shitty thing, and I got to figure out how to do it on here.
I will return in a minute, guys. I got a customer.
Yeah. Right. So here's the screen share here. Is that working?
Yes, sir.
All right. So here's the new recipe, the Hinterlander. It's straight tobacco. I originally released this last night under the Woodsman, but I realized that I was unintentionally trampling on someone else's in our group's planned release that's covered by an NDA, so I can't say who or what or where, that had a very similar name and profile. So I changed it, but I didn't change the recipe. So here it is. It's 1.75% of FLV cured tobacco. Everything is FLV. 0.25% lovage root, 1.25 native tobacco, 2.75 red burley, and 0.5% wood spice. The notes are all here on all the flavors. It's on the top of the popular 24 hours recipe. So if you're into tobaccos at all, check it out and check the notes out. Even if you don't mix it up, there's some pretty valuable notes for each of the flavorings. Specifically the lovage root and how it works well with tobaccos and adds a nice, oh, now it's going to do that thing again. There we go. How it works well with tobacco flavorings. And reportedly, Clayton tried it with a bakery. He tried lovage in a bakery flavor, and it apparently worked out really well. I guess he was having problems with it being really dry and gross. Oh, I see that I was screen sharing. They were talking some smack in here. What's going on here?
Yeah, lovage is super interesting. It's one of those flavors that I wish that I had just more time in the day so I could go ahead and break down exactly what it's doing everywhere.
Yeah, so Clayton said that he took my idea from the Hinterlander, right, and used it. He applied it to a bakery that he was having problems with. I guess like a donut, right? It was Epila, or glazed donut, or whatever, some Joy, something like that. It was really dry and it tasted good, but it was like dry and throat hitty. And he said he added just a little bit of lovage, and it like smoothed over those dry notes, made it a little creamy, and then sweetened it up just a little bit, and left it there, like in a good place. Reportedly, I would never have thought to use lovage for a bakery.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've got to check that out when he drops that. And yeah.
He said it's still in development, but he's working it out. It means there's some more promised applications. Like when I first tried lovage, like my initial thought was tobaccos, and I released a recipe with sticks mix called Roots and Sticks when it first came out. When lovage first dropped, Trevor Brown from a Facebook group sent me a bottle of it because he wanted me to figure out what the fuck it was, It was right when Lovage first dropped, and he was like, "I don't know what to do with this stuff, man." So he sent me some to try it out, and I vaped it standalone at like 1% my first time through it because nobody knew anything about Flavora then, and it was horrible. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm vaping disgusting wet salad." Ugh. But it turned out really well, and I'm glad for having. Now I have like 4 bottles of it. And I can't get enough of this stuff.
I was originally using it to like add kind of a vegetal note back to some slightly more savory stuff like rhubarb, and I was liking it there. But yeah, I didn't really dig into it, and then I got into the tobaccos with it. And yeah, it's absolutely perfect for a lot of the tobacco applications.
I think the most crucial part about what it brings to tobaccos is that you can take your tobaccos way higher into a way higher range. Like you can push them into the stratosphere as far as percentage wise, and then the Lovage really helps dial them back to a reasonable level. Like it erases all the dry, nasty dry notes that you normally get from taking your tobaccos too high, so you can get them more bold and like full flavored. Like I would have never have gone up to 6%, almost 6% in tobaccos with Flavora only tobaccos normally because it's way too high. And it would have. I don't know. It was a little dry without the Lovage, and I think that it just smoothed it over just enough so that it was really bold and full flavored, and not harsh at all. And then like just enough like not cloying sweetness that doesn't like reek of caramel or vanilla or something horrible like that. Which isn't bad, I guess, if you're a big RY4 person. But I like my tobaccos like kind of straightforward.
So what kind of steep are you looking at for that?
I honestly I enjoyed it at 3 days, but I mean it gets better after that, so 5 to 7 days probably, maybe a little longer.
Which is awesome with the Flavora tobaccos, how quick they actually shape up. You're not sitting there waiting for a month and a half for everything to actually work.
Yeah, the recipe isn't even a month old, so I mean it could theoretically get better in a month, even better, but I don't really feel like I need to wait that long. If at a week I'm super happy with it and I could vape the shit out of it, I did 30 mil in a whole day. I had to make another one. Like I feel like that's strong enough of a tell that it'll still be fine in a month.
Yeah, that's usually a pretty good sign.
And I'm not even really like a big tobacco guy. I release some recipes with tobaccos and I talk about them a lot because people struggle with them more. And people ask me about them more often than other flavors. So, but I only vape tobaccos like once a month, maybe on my own.
I've been getting into them more, but a lot of that has been like on the RY4 side, the dessert side. Although I've been like researching my tobacco terms so I can kind of talk about it without sounding like a complete douche. And I think I like more of the non-aromatic tobacco. It's not like the kind of wet, green, leafy tobacco. Red Burley from Flavora is actually my big gateway into that.
Yeah. No, I think you and I are kind of on the same page as far as tobacco preferences. I like the real like earthy, a little nutty, but not too leafy, not too green. I like the thick, like the heavy leather tobacco. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
It's so the native tobacco, Red Burley, flue cured. I guess it's just cured now, right?
I think so.
My old bottle still says flue cured. But I guess they changed it at some point. I can't remember. I moved all my tobaccos off the table because I couldn't. Somebody just asked if the wood spice is like oak wood. It's kind of like oak wood. So oak wood is really specifically like a dry oak with a little bit of like smoke type flavoring, right? Like a little bit of like smoked flavor. And wood spice is more like cedar and sandalwood and like kind of smells like a wood shop. Like it's straight wood, no oaky tone or no smoky tones at all. So if that helps clear up the difference. Oh, they're both really good, and I think Oakwood definitely still has a place. But no, I don't really think they're the same or even very similar.
Wood spice definitely takes everything into like a cologne kind of area, which is kind of cool after seeing all the florals, how a lot of them have like that kind of perfumey edge. To get something that's like nice and manly and like vaping wood chips is kind of refreshing.
I honestly didn't think I was gonna like it when I tried it, but it is really good. I thought it would be kind of gross, and then I think it was Teammates on Reddit did a review of wood spice recently that I really enjoyed. That kind of nailed it on the head better than I think I could, with this like straightforward wood flavorings. Um, but it's not sweet, but it's not really bitter either. So it's really just kind of middle of the road, and it's really smooth. And I think you could even go higher than 0.5 and not really have any nasty side effects if you're really into the wood idea. I think it'd go well with some fruits like peaches or stone fruits.
Pink guava, man. Pink guava all the way. It works really well with Flavora's
Shit.
pink guava.
Idea.
Although I got that from like a website on making your own cologne, and I mean that's embarrassing enough. But I went ahead and tried it out, and it's like, no, they're right. That works.
That sounds fucking delicious, actually. Pink guava,
Yeah,
wood spice. I might have to do that later.
yeah. I made a tester of it that had way too much stuff going on, but I think the initial idea was something like a pipe tobacco with a little bit of pink guava and wood spice, and then maybe just a hint of vanilla. But I've got to kind of trim that recipe up. I think I ended up using like 7 or 8 ingredients that kind of turned into a muddled mess. And then there's sandalwood. So the pink guava part of it's working really well though.
Nice. Yeah. What percentage do you use that with the pink guava?
Oh, I think I used the pink guava at like 0.5%, and I had the sandalwood all the way. The wood spice all the way down at, I think it was like 0.15%, and that seemed like a pretty good level for mixing it with the pink guava. The rest of the recipe was an ungodly mess, but that part worked.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Clayton's not back yet. All right. So we'll move on. So, sweet rice. I know you haven't messed with it yet, but I'm going to talk about it for just a few minutes. After seeing it drop and Wayne talking about it, like I pretty much ordered it like that day. So I've had it for almost a week now, and I've been messing with it with a lot of different. Hang on. Oh, bummer, Dave. Dave, did you get some video at least, man, of the singing before? All right. Anyways, so sweet rice. It's a really thick, kind of buttery rice flavor that's really close to like a savory, just like a bowl of rice, right? But it's kind of a little bit milky, so like it's really easy to push it into the rice pudding kind of field with a little bit of milk flavors. I think it's got a lot of potential as a base recipe, like a base. Wayne released like a rice stone, right, with just I think like some cream, some fresh creams and stuff like that. I'm about to maybe do something similar, but I've done some tests with jasmine, green tea, and a few other things, some mangoes and tropicals, and I think it has a lot of potential to be like. It's still kind of a niche flavoring, but I think that it has some potential to really do some serious works. I don't get the floral note. It's like kind of there. Maybe what percentage are you using it at? 6 strings. I haven't taken it over 5% because at 5% I feel like it kind of hits max capacity, and other flavors kind of struggle to compete with it. My favorite so far though has been sweet rice with plum and ginger, which has been really nice. 3.5%. Okay, I'll have to try that. Maybe it's more readily available or present when it's lower. Anyway, so plum and ginger and fucking sweet rice. Like mix some shit up. It's good. Clayton, welcome back.
Appreciate it. Sorry about that. Pretty demanding job sometimes.
That's all good, man. You're out there helping people quit smoking every day, or you're just listening to them take an hour to pick out what kind of juice they want.
Well, that was basically it. He was shopping for his mother. It's Mother's Day, so I had to find a flavor that he thought she would like, which was kind of complicated.
Yeah, I hear you, bud. It's I worked in a shop for a really short period of time, but I did not enjoy it, and it kind of ruined vaping for me for a little bit.
Definitely a delicate balance doing all of this. When you're at a shop, you're dealing with people who are both new and advanced. You've got the advanced ego, you've got the new skepticism. So it's tiresome some days, but
I think I hated having advanced users come in more than I hated new people.
I can agree with you there.
Because they'd haggle with you. That's the worst ones. Those are the hagglers. They come in like full of internet knowledge, right?
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, there's no reason that night core charger should be $30 and I could buy it online for $20. And I was like, but those people online don't have rent to pay, so I don't really care. Like, you can pay $30 or you can go there, like the door over there.
Right. My worst is the DIY vapors. That's the headache. From the shop perspective, I love it when DIYers come in because I'm a DIYer, but we can sit around and chop up, conversations. But when they come in and they ask me, why are you selling juice at the price you are? And I'm like, dude, I'm just a manager, bro. Like, I don't run this business. I have to bow down to the man just like you do. But yeah, it
I
does
was
get
having a response to the guy with the sweet rice ideas.
all
I
good.
think it's got a lot of room for just about anything. It's a really solid base. I think you can do whatever the fuck you want with it and probably get somewhere.
Hey, JFM, fuck you, bro. I'm not a trader. I'm a worker.
Damn, shots fired.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun some days. I have had conversations with my employer to drop prices, but you know what? They're paying my bills too. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that gets complicated, right? So I've helped. Part of what I used to do for consulting was help launch house lines, right? Launch a house. So I was kind of involved with like a lot of places launching like a whole business, with hardware and juice and everything else. So I would come in and help develop the juice line, like a really simple, straightforward juice line. And I'd get less money for recipe, but each place would have something, that was their own for their house line that was still simple to mix and really cost efficient. And it was basically like budget juice, right? Like a little better than budget juice, but not quite, like enough to keep people coming back, but maybe not something that I'd spend months developing. But I was pretty exposed to like what the cost side looks like for vape shops, and it's higher than a lot of people think. And then there's a lot of factors that you don't consider when running an online or a storefront business. Like, not only do you need the regular liability insurance, but you need like building insurance and then employee insurance and all kinds of other fucking messes. It gets expensive fast. So like, I understand the markup in B&Ms. It seems insane, right? The same with juice, right? People are like, oh, that's insane. It costs so much more. But it costs like the creators, right? The company like Suicide Bunny or whoever, right? Like, they don't make that much per bottle. The only reason they make money is because they sell shitloads of it. Right? They make a tiny bit per bottle, but it's not nearly as much as people think what the markup really is. It's all about like the volume of sales. That's why people can afford to sell huge bottles for cheap, the same as small bottles for cheap or expensive. Like the wholesale, because it all comes down to wholesaling, right? Like what the shop sells it for, they mark it up to account for all those extra insurances and distribution costs on their end to have it shipped in, and all those other things that we don't factor. So most of the time, like, juice prices aren't that unreasonable. The only time I ever have a beef is when house lines are charging, 15 or $20 for a 30 mil, when I know for a fact it's only $1 going into that bottle, because house lines are, if they mix it in house, then there's an issue. But as far as like commercial juice being too high price, sometimes there are some cases, but a lot of times there's a lot of costs that people don't factor in.
most definitely. I did want to give a shout out to Black Brewer over here in the chat, Amy Peterson. He lives here in Virginia. He actually drove up a couple of times now to hang out with me at the shop. And yesterday he brought me some goodies. He brought me a American Weight Scale LB3000, which honestly there's nothing I can do with. I wanted to tell him that because he wanted to do a giveaway, which was very generous. But I did not realize that it was only a 0.1 gram resolution. So that's only going to be for batch mixing. I don't know if anyone would be interested in, a giveaway for that, being that most people don't batch mix. But I can put it to use if otherwise, because I do batch mix often. But he also brought me a big old bottle of apple pie moonshine, and I'm absolutely loving that. So
Nice.
big shout out to Black Brewer in the chat there, Amy Peterson.
That sounds cool, man. I don't live near like any other vapors like that I know. Like, I don't live anywhere near anybody. In fact, I live in a really small town, and I think I only know 2 other vapors in this town, and I'm pretty sure they both buy from me. So I think that's it. Like, that's all there is. I'm sure there's probably more somewhere, but I've never met it. I never see them or see anyone like that around here.
If I was near you, bro, I'd come hang out with you, man.
Post show. I live out in the country though. Most people don't want to come out here because if we go to the bar, then they got to drive home.
Yeah, that's
Like I have tons of friends. They're the next town over, like half an hour away, and most of them want to go out and have a pint. And then I'm like, I don't want to drive back after a pint, or even 2 pints, because I don't like expensive tickets. We're going to jail, and the cops here don't have anything better to do. So.
Marvels, I would say no. If you're off by a couple of points or something when you're measuring it, I wouldn't say you have anything to worry about.
No, if there's a few drops off or something like that, it's not a huge deal. Like I overpour all the time. I usually just make a note of what I overpoured so that I can recreate it if it's super awesome. But other than that, like I don't stress about it. And if you're doing it by volume, like as long as you're pretty close, like the differences aren't large. Unless you're working with like super duper crazy potent flavors.
Like Flavora.
Even with Flavora, like if you get 1 or 2 drops extra, like it's not gonna fucking turn your juice to shit, you know?
Unless you're playing with sweet dough.
Well, okay, all right. You might have a point with the sweet dough. I noticed this, and I want to talk about this for a minute. I noticed this the other day that I get a lot of like we share notes over Facebook chat like all day, right, guys? Like the EJM guys and me, like we talk about shit all day long. Like it's like a 24-hour operation, and there's like this sort of weird range, right, for Flavora flavors, like where they almost have 2 different ranges of uses. Where you have the low range where they're really good, and then they have like a middle range where they're like total ass or they need a lot of steep time. And then there's like this third range that's like useful again when you go higher up, right? Like so like sweet dough is either like under 0.5%, but then somewhere in the like 0.75 to 1.5 range, it's like total garbage. But then you push it back up to 2% and it's all right again. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and I'm crazy. Which is entirely likely, and I often am mixing on no sleep. Look at my fucking asshole cat back there. Do you see him?
Yeah,
there's like a mystery range, you know, like where it gets good again, you know.
Yeah, I've found, especially with a lot of the fruits, they work really well, like under 1%. And then you go back up and you hit like 3 or 4%, and all of a sudden, magically, they work well. Mills's Betito de Guanabana is a perfect example of that, where you know you can look at that 4% percentage. You can look at that 4%, and it looks absolutely crazy until you actually try it. And it's like, no, that actually does work pretty well up there.
Yeah, I agree. I first discovered it with when I was working on One Punch, my tropical punch flavor, and it uses the Flavora's tropical punch at 4%, and I got a lot of feedback saying, "Oh, that's got to be way too high. There's no way I'm going to mix that. It sounds crazy." But it works really well. But like from like 1.5 to 2.5%, like tropical punch kind of sucks. Like, but when you push it back up to 4%, like it's good again. Like it's kind of weird. Hopefully sometime in the next month, candy roll. Yes. Hang on, I'll get to that. 1 second. Sometimes I just randomly blurt shit out in the chat, and it probably is confusing for anybody rewatching later. But we're working on a master list, right? So I publish it in Google Docs in our group, and we'll be filling it out slowly. But hopefully, I plan to have all of my notes on it by the end of, hopefully the end of June. I want to do it by the end of this month, but I don't want to overpromise. Candy roll is really interesting. I think that in the low range, like under 0.5%, like it adds like a kind of really nice, like not quite jelly candy, but candy finish. And then as you take it higher and higher, it gets a little drier and kind of comes more towards like the Smarties range. Rick has, I think, a little more experience with it, or at least a little more detailed information, because I haven't messed with it enough yet. Rick?
Yeah, so I think you're dead on with the lower percentage. It has like a really nice kind of sweet texturing effect. I think you've described it before as being like the inside of a jelly bean, which definitely isn't far off, you know, one of the slightly drier jelly beans. When you start pushing up higher, it does get chalky, but it gets chalky in a really interesting kind of sweet, tart, non-chemical way, which I appreciate. It's not necessarily my thing up that high, but what it's doing, it seems to be doing really well.
When he says he gets a chemical note on anything over 0.5% on candy roll. I haven't witnessed that, but I've only taken it to I think 0.75 or 1%. But it was with a lot of other really like super bold flavors, so I think that might have just covered up any chemical flavoring. I think that's something to be said about Flavora flavors when you're pairing them with other companies. Like you kind of have to almost go higher than you normally would with the other flavors to get them to mesh and like hold well, or at least like kind of reach even ground, you know, to achieve like a balance in your recipe. Anybody else? Yeah, Clayton, Rick.
Yeah, they tend to be bullies, or at least that's what I've found. It doesn't matter how much you're actually putting in unless you're really hammering on those other ingredients. The Flavora stuff usually comes through pretty loud and clear, which is a good thing in some applications, but when you're like trying to get weird with it and layer in other people's flavorings and you're going for specific stuff, you're going to spend a lot of time tweaking your percentages.
You did another review, I think last week, that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit because I've received a lot of negative feedback about it and people asking how I would use it or if I have used it, and that's Flavora's hibiscus. And a lot of people are saying that they're mixing it at 0.25 or 0.5 and it's really offensive. But I know you just did a review on it. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it, but I think it's radically different from Capella's hibiscus. And I think that's where some of the confusion comes in with Capella's hibiscus. I get a pretty spot on like hibiscus tea kind of flavor. And it's, of course, fairly hard to actually nail down what that is besides hibiscus, but it's kind of like an overripe apple, like bordering on like the top notes from a pineapple. And it's really good stuff. But then you go over to the Flavora hibiscus and yeah, it's super concentrated. And it's also really, really green. And the thing that I like about it is it's green, like sort of a fresh, waxy green leaf kind of green instead of like a cooked spinach vegetal, like swampy green. But the actual taste, I resorted to using nothing but, talking about other flavors to kind of describe it because I don't necessarily have the vocabulary for all these florals, but it tasted like a greener version of Flavor Art Jasmine, but with kind of the drier, heavier, slightly chalky body of like Flavor Art's Violet.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. That sounds pretty accurate. I think it's really good. I think it has a lot of potential, but especially because of that, like really strong, like leafy green. I think you could use it like to like accentuate mints in like a mint julep or a mojito type or something like that to really like make the mint stand out as like super fresh and leafy as opposed to like a candied mint. Like most mints all taste like candy to me. Most mint flavors, they almost all taste like mint candies of some kind. Very few taste like actual fresh mint. So I think that hibiscus could be really crucial in kind of bending some of those like mint or basil into something that's really like fresh and straightforwardly like actual like a leaf of basil or mint. Or I'm not sure where else you would use it. I guess you could maybe try it with Zen Garden or something like that to get the herbal notes to stand out as fresher and more green in that capacity.
Well, I haven't had a ton of opportunity to actually go back and test it, but I use jasmine a lot in fruit mixes to kind of make things feel a lot more like an actual fruit. It has some of those greener, almost like kind of pithy notes. And with the extra body in that hibiscus, I think it's going to do largely the same thing, but maybe even do like a better job of giving you like a solid fruit from the middle all the way out to the peel, which I kind of dig that level of realism.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Have you messed with any of those yet, Clayton? I know those are maybe a little more outside your wheelhouse than normal.
Yeah, I'm not really the floral guy. I'm the bakery. Just now starting to get more into the fruit things with the warm weather kind of guy. I'm seasonal, but I've been playing around with floral since I've been, talking to you guys, especially being that you're the floral guy. So I kind of take notes from you and then run with it. As far as like recipe development with floral, huckleberry is about as far as I've gotten.
Yeah, well, hey, huckleberry is a challenging one. I'll give you credit for messing with that. I never had the patience to get it to work. Who's that the huckleberry guy? I forget his name from Reddit.
Edible malfunction.
Edible malfunction. That's right. Man, that stuff is good. The last one he sent with the huckleberry in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. And he actually used TPA's hibiscus really well. And Wrath of the Bugbear and his renewal recipe. I was really impressed with the way he was using TPA's hibiscus.
They were both actually really excellent. In fact, this whole round was, I think, it's been the best round so far. I feel some regret in not being able to participate in this month. So I just didn't get the time. The like 3 or 4 different bread puddings I put it together, like, were all just not good. And I didn't want to just cheat and use like, because Real Flavors bread pudding is pretty authentic and it's really delicious. But I didn't want to just lean on that and go for it. Like I didn't want to just be cheap ass motherfucker like that. So I tried to build one from the ground up and it didn't go well at all. So, and I just didn't get enough time to finish something and get it out the door before we hit the deadline. So I will forever walk in shame in the halls of Mixers Club, at least until I bring the next Bengal Beauregard.
Yeah, pretty much. I was kind of stretching for bad things to say this month. I usually like to be a little bit more critical, but I couldn't really pick on anybody this month. It was terrible.
I tried to really hard, but I think your paunch was the closest I got to being critical, which it wasn't critical because it was pretty good.
It's just like vaping delicious suntan lotion, basically.
Alaska, I have to say for me, Lotus is by far the best raspberry that I've personally had. TFA Sweet Raspberry does it in a pinch, but if I can have a choice, I'm going with Lotus.
Flavor art forever.
Flavor art forever.
It's so fucking good. It is a little floral if you take it too high, but I think it's the best, most well-rounded raspberry as a standalone. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that Flavor Art raspberry should go in every recipe that a raspberry would go in. Sometimes raspberry is sweet, or in a whereas raspberries fit the bill better, or a layer of the group. But
See, that's kind of weird for me because from Unawares I kind of get like I don't know why, but I do get like a little bit of a floral note from Unawares. Anywhere over 0.5, 0.5 and below I can kind of work with, but
yeah, over 0.5 it gets super perfumey really fast. And under 0.5 it's really syrupy, right? Like I use it as an additive to like just change the raspberry that I'm using into something a little more robust and sweet. But yeah, it's a little more candy-ish, or a little, and it gets like a kind of a dark syrupy sweetness to it.
Alaska, being that Lotus is so like powerfully concentrated, I would recommend 0.5 pretty much as a starting point, pretty much for anything you're doing, and lower, because any higher than that, it can dominate.
So Matt Digital is saying he couldn't get Cap Jelly Candy to work. So Cap Jelly Candy is really interesting, and it does have a really kind of funky off note if you use it strong enough in a percentage where you can actually taste it. I don't ever take it over like 2 or 3%, which is kind of low for a Capella range. And even then, like I only do the 3% jelly candy is like if I really like crank up the flavoring, right? So it's like a kind of like check out my recipe Tiki Punch, right? That works really well in that, and it's got like 7% Lorenz watermelon, 4% TPA strawberry, and 4% golden pineapple, and I think 0.15% coconut TPA coconut extra. It's like a tiger's blood candy remix, right? So the jelly candy, what it does is it really just helps the 3 of those flavors kind of like meld into like a really like strongly flavored like candy flavor as opposed to like a beverage flavor. And if you use jelly candy a little lower, with like citrus, I've been messing with it with oranges, and if you take like FA Mandarin at 3% and jelly candy at 1%, you get some of that thick, like sort of like noxious syrupy back note like you would from like a fresh orange juice instead of just a straightforward mandarin. So it helps add like kind of the sensation of thick sweetness to the back end of the flavor, so that it turns it like a more like thick juice or nectar than it would be straightforward. Rick, you mess with jelly candy a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I'm like it mostly for the texture. somewhere under 2% generally. I think as soon as I start tasting it, I'm kind of off the jelly candy train. It tends to push grassy notes for me. So using it with something like Cap Sweet Mango, where there is definitely like that kind of grassy, earthy note to it, it just like shoves those right in the front of a recipe for me. So I'm a little bit more judicious with the way that I use it. But it goes strangely well with Cap Cool Mint. That was something that I was using pretty regularly as like my refresher, was something like 4% Cool Mint and like 1% jelly candy. And for some reason that works really well.
Yeah, I never thought about trying to mix it with mints. That's a good idea. That actually sounds pretty killer. I'm gonna try with some eucalyptus just to be brave.
I've just used it as kind of like that jelly texture, like 1%. That's just kind of where I found.
I think it's better for the texture additive than it is like 3%. I took it up to in Tiki Punch because it was like a 20% recipe, right? Like it's super strong. And when I went lower, I didn't get any noticeable difference, so I had to take it a little higher. But I definitely agree that it's a low range additive for sure.
And JH623 mentioned Shisha Raspberry by Inawera. So I got the chance to test that, and I was actually really impressed too. I think I've got to figure out how to use it a little bit better. But Shisha Raspberry is like a really nice solid raspberry without too much juiciness. So I'm thinking that's going to be a really good raspberry for using as the base for like jams and fillings and stuff, because it seems like it's going to kind of stay in one place in a recipe instead of like making the entire thing like taste like it was absolutely dunked in raspberry. So shout out to Shisha Raspberry.
Definitely. I wanted to touch on the coffee thing just because Kevin Ross threw it out there. I'm going to be the oddball here and say that I enjoy Capella's Cup of Joe. I don't see a lot of people using that, but that's been kind of my fallback. Also, what Copel said, tiramisu and dark bean work really well together. But I'm not really the coffee aficionado, I guess you would say. But I do like Capella's Cup of Joe.
I like Flavor Arts tiramisu is probably my favorite, like straightforward coffee. It's got a little bit of bitter chocolate and a tiny bit of cookie note in it, but and their dark bean espresso is really authentic, but it's kind of bitter and a little rough around the edges. I did a few tests with Flavora's coffee that seemed promising. There is some natural sediment in Flavora coffee, so that puts some people off and it makes them, maybe not want to try it so much. But the flavor is pretty solid. It didn't completely fucking destroy my Wix in 10 minutes, and it seemed pretty reasonable, though. It has a little bit of natural sweetness and cream to it, which I actually didn't appreciate because I kind of like my coffee like really straightforward and bitter and not too sweet, not very sweet. But it's not bad. It's pretty good. And then, yeah, that's my kind ground already beat me to it. Sticks Mix Coffee's natural extracts are fucking incredible. They're super duper good, really authentic, and just really overall super delicious. They will completely trash your wicks and coils really fast, but they are the most authentic coffee flavorings on the market, if you ask me. They're excellent.
Wow, that's great to hear. I actually have it at home. I just haven't tested with it. I've worked with the tobacco mixes. I just haven't used the Kona. That's pretty cool. That's good to know.
Yeah, his Kona and the Italian roast are both really good, and chock full of nuts are also excellent. I can't say enough good things about Ty's work. I know that some people are put off by his price point. It was a little high for them, but he's a small business, so he has a lot of expenses that he can't cover by producing in volume. He doesn't have a big facility, right? He still does this shit by hand. So I think that his prices are fair for what he's doing, and as he grows, I'm sure that we'll see those prices drive down. But you can't beat his tobacco extracts. They're excellent tobaccos, excellent coffees. They're overall very, very high quality, naturally extracted products. I love them. They're good stuff. Ty, if you can see me or hear me, love you, buddy. No homo. Either of you guys mess with any of other Thai stuff?
I haven't had the chance to yet. It's on my big list of things to end up trying.
Do you have some?
I do not.
I'll send you some, or I'll talk to Ty. We'll get you some.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I've got some that I'm not using, some partials that I could send you, and then I'll talk to Ty too. I could probably get him to hook you up, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, Ty's definitely a very good dude, man. He's more than willing to, especially for someone as talented as you are with flavor notes. Ty's gonna definitely be on that. I wouldn't think otherwise. But as far as someone asked about how to use Capella Cup of Joe, I mean, I typically use it at like 3-4%. Throw some Irish cream in there from Flavor Art or something. You know, a little bit of a smoothener. That's about it.
How's Flavor Art's Irish cream?
I like it. I mean, I really enjoy it. I don't know what else to say. I'm not the notes guy like Rick is. I mean, it's enjoyable to my palate. You know, I typically use it in a lower range, just being that it's Flavor Art. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice. I haven't picked it up yet, but I just finished messing with Flavora's Irish cream, which is pretty nice. But it's actually a lot more mellow flavored than I expected it to be. Maybe I need to take it higher. It's a nice cream, but I don't get a lot of that like kind of almost borderline pungent Irish cream flavor from it, right? Like, hang on, my cat's being a dick, so somebody take over for a second.
Well, I'm kind of thrown on the spot here. I'm not much of a coffee guy. I drink coffee every day, but I don't really enjoy it that much in a vape, in a e-liquid. But it's, I mean, I do in colder weather, colder climates.
Yeah, I've been digging Inawera's mocha and Flavora's coffee. For me, a lot of the better coffee flavors kind of run towards almost a hot chocolate flavor because it doesn't have like that burnt, like bitter, kind of buttery coffee note that something like dark bean does when you overdo it. So I kind of just use them like a really heavy, sort of realistic hot chocolate, and I've been digging it for like the dark chocolate overtones to that kind of stuff.
I've got Inawera's mocha. I haven't really messed with it. I did pick it up a few orders ago, and I can't remember for the life of me why now, but that happens. That seems to happen quite often. I'll see something, and I'll be like, okay, add to cart. All right, let's do this.
Yeah, Runt Dastardly. I think it was Runt Dastardly off Reddit. She had a recipe up for the Fig Lebowski that uses cap fig with the mocha. And it's one of those that I mixed up and never got around to reviewing, but it's absolutely fantastic. It works strangely well for all that weird chocolate and fig stuff going on in there.
Man, where has Runt Dastardly been? I haven't seen her post a recipe in forever.
I don't know. I'm about ready to send out a search party.
She is was one of the few mixers to really start coming out with the weird, like early last year, during like last year when people weren't pushing too many boundaries, and it was a lot of, you know, Reddit was a lot of the more of the same kind of, it goes in cycles, you know, where there's like a phase of not much creativity and it's just kind of straightforward recipes, which aren't bad recipes at all, but Runt really started pushing boundaries when no one else was at the time. So I really appreciated that about her, and most of her recipes have all been rock solid.
I still need to pick up, I think it was Medicine Flower Coffee. She had a recipe up that's supposed to be fantastic. I just never got around to picking up the coffee for it. I think you have to use Medicine Flower, and then it's like a 6-week steep on it. But I am more than willing to trust her there.
Yeah, somebody in chat said that she's been dealing with like a PG allergy. I could see how that would kind of lead to some struggles. I hope she recovers and comes back to us, or she's found a way to work around it, or at least she just hangs out in chat sometimes. Maybe that'd be all right.
Don't feel bad, Six Strings. I actually didn't know that Heading Clouds was a female either.
That's all right. You know, I mean, I feel like some people just don't really, you know, you can't really tell one way or the other. I didn't know either. I called Runt Dastardly a he like 50 times before somebody was like, hey, Copel, stop being a dick, dude.
That's a chick, dude. That's a chick. Yeah, well, but those were back in the text-only forum kind of things. It's only recently that all those mixers started getting into the video platform. You know, Wayne kind of slammed that door open, and now more and more people are pouring in, so it's awesome.
Oh, I didn't see that she commented. Dave just said she commented in the monthly thread this month, but I didn't see that. But yeah, it's been a good year, I think, for mixing overall so far. You know, we're not even halfway there, and it's been a lot of innovative recipes coming out, a lot of new stuff, and a lot of people pushing new boundaries. People going outside of their comfort zones. I can't talk enough about going out of your comfort zone to develop something new or something something fun. At least it's fun, you know. Like even if it's not like the best, most amazing recipe ever. Look at these two schmucks over here laughing at me with their mute smite, thinking I don't know.
I thought my video was hidden, bro. My bad.
You don't want Medicine Flower to know you support them, Rick.
That's what I was laughing at, actually.
I just saw that.
Yeah, between the pricing and how weird they are, it just seems like I want to leave Medicine Flower for the hippies. I picked up a bunch of the Lotus Flower rebottled stuff from e-cig one of the times it was on sale, and I have like 25 of their flavors just sitting there. I think I mixed up testers the initial time and it wasn't quite working, and then me having the attention span of a 5-year-old, I just moved on to other stuff. A lot of what I've tasted has been really good, but yeah, it just seems like a really big bridge to try to get everybody to go over when we have a lot of other readily available concentrates.
I've thought the same. You know, I've heard great things about their strawberry, about their white chocolate. And I was going to take advantage of the sale that they just had on e-cig, but I kind of got the 5-year-old, you know, no patience. I kind of went to the other thing. So I didn't order, but I think I'm going to go back when they have another one and do it.
Yeah, everything that I've tried has actually been pretty good except for their black currant. That just tastes like straight up ketchup to me. But yeah, everything's been pretty good. When I went to start trying to mix it, I just can't get, like, the flavors seem to be a little bit softer. They're not quite working with anything else. And honestly, I just didn't have the patience to try to figure out how to actually make them work in a recipe. They taste good though. So they got that going for them.
Sorry. The only Medicine Flower flavor that I have all of them, I think. I think the only one that I really use regularly though is their banana, because it's probably the best banana on the market. Like, it's better than Flavora's banana. It's better than Hangston's banana. To me, it's really good. It's the best goddamn banana they'll ever have.
I can agree with you there.
But for $10 for a fucking 5 mil, it's too steep for me to ever keep around.
I mean,
I got lucky, and it was.
I'm sorry.
That's all good. That's all good. I got lucky.
You argue semantics here. Flavora's nearing that level.
Yeah, some of their flavorings are really kind of hard to approach because they're $12.50 for a 15 mil, which, you know, is pretty steep. But I think, as we see, just like I was talking about with Tide, right? Like, Flavora is still kind of small in comparison to like Capella or TPA, Flavor West, or Flavor Art, right? Like, they're not super big, and they're a fairly small operation. And I think as we see them get out there more and get used more, and like their ability to produce in bulk goes up, then their ability to drive their prices down to match the bulk. You know, so the more they get out there, the more we help them get out there. Like, we can kind of help drive the market down on those prices. We saw the same thing with Flavor Art early on, right? So when I first started mixing, Flavor Art was like $5 for a 10 mil. You know, it was really expensive, and now it's, you know, in the $2 range, right? So $2.50 for a 10 mil now. Is that pretty close? I haven't looked lately, but yeah, Flavor Art does give a lot for free. But Flavor Art in the last 3 years or so, since I've been messing with them, has come down over half in price because they're more popular. You know, it started with when Joy first became a big thing. We were like bulk buying that stuff and having to group buy it from Italy to have it at a reasonable price. And then you know, once they got their North America facility going, like, those prices came down way farther. And I think that as we help and see Flavora grow, we'll see those prices come down too. Medicine Flower banana, I think, is it's a really natural, but it's a pretty natural banana. It's not very candy, like no runts weirdness to it or anything like that. So, any other new flavors you've been messing with, Rick? Or Clayton just unmute. He had something to say.
Okay, something's happening there. I'm not sure, but my favorite out of the week was definitely Flavora's Fire Cinnamon. Absolutely love that stuff. It's weird. It's just the spicy part of cinnamon, and I think it's going to be a really good really good mixer in applications where you don't want like a dry, powdery cinnamon body, but you still want some cinnamon bite to things. So I was really pleasantly surprised by that.
All I was going to say was I'm still a big fan of Flavor Arts Banana, but apologies for that. I'm on a touchscreen laptop, and the trackpad is kind of weird. I think they put more thought into the touchscreen than they did the actual keyboard, so apologies for that.
No worries, no worries. Yes, Flavor Art Honey. Somebody asked what I like to pair eucalyptus with mint. I like cherries, apples, and honey. FA honey or Flavora's honeybee is also an excellent choice. But I like Euc with mint just standalone by itself, like 3%. It's a little bold for some people, but I like it really strong. But yeah, I think it's excellent. It's incredible. It's probably my favorite flavoring. I keep a bottle mix at all times at my desk, so you can see I'm in need of re-upping here. But I always have Euc with mint. It's my de facto palate cleanser. It works for. I mean, it works well for what it is. I don't have a ton of luck with vaping something different just for a palate cleanser. Olfactory fatigue seems to set in one way or another sometimes, at least when you're vaping as much as we are when we're testing all day long. But yeah, Euc with mint forever, dude. I love it.
For when you absolutely have to blow the taste buds out of the back of your head.
Yeah, it's strong stuff, and I know that 3% is probably a lot more than most people would want to use it at. So if you're just starting, start at like 0.5% or 1%. 3% is super duper bold, and like it kind of makes my teeth squeaky, and like it hurts my teeth a little. Like you're drinking something ice cold, and if you have like it's cold sensitivity, it's super cold. Alaska Vapor asked, Bull City flavors. Yeah, it's that asshole cat again. Thanks, Extremes. But Bull City Flavors has Hangston Flavors. They're the biggest vendor. And I think Vapors Tech might carry some. Does anybody else know? Clayton?
Carrie, I'm sorry. I was reading JH's question. The chocolate.
Inaware milk chocolate, right? The great milk chocolate debacle of 2017.
Yeah. I was in the middle of development when that happened. Like, that really pissed me off.
Yeah, that really hurt. Because it didn't just hurt me with the chocolate, right? Like, so Plum shut me down for like 6 months. Like, I was working on there's my asshole cat again. Plum was like a big part of what I was working on, a few recipes, and then they reformulated. I got the new one in, and it seems more potent actually. So I'm gonna have to dial some of my recipes back to match the new Inaware Plum potency. It's stronger than the old one, which is saying something because the old one was pretty strong. So now it's kind of in line with Inaware's raspberry in potency, which leads me to believe it was something to do with the carrier. And I got smoked plum while I was at it, but I haven't messed with it yet. But milk chocolate, sorry. Flavora's milk chocolate is really good. It's not the same as Inaware's. He does not need feeding. Did you see him? It's a good substitute. Juggle Flavors milk chocolate is pretty promising. TPA double chocolate clear are solid chocolates. Did you guys do any work with the other chocolates yet?
I mostly stay away from chocolate, like milk chocolate kind of flavors. I don't know. Usually if I'm using chocolate, I'm using more just like the dark cocoa chocolate. And for that, I absolutely love Hankson's Australian chocolate. Like that's my go-to. I haven't really tried to do anything to, get that creamy milk chocolate thing. I figured it was just a lost cause the entire time. I don't know.
It has been for the most part. I tried a s'mores for a long time. Never really was able to hit the exact mark. I had one from a company that I hate to shout out their name, but it probably everyone knows. It's a Loaded. It's the Loaded line, the Loaded s'mores. And I found crossing that divide from being a consumer to DIYer, I learned that it was just late. I don't know what I'm saying. Loaded. It was loaded with sucralose is what it was. Wasn't a big fan. So gave up on s'mores. But yeah, milk chocolate from Flavora has been pretty good. Hankston's Australian chocolate, awesome. I found I'm doing some testing now between the two in combination, and it's been pretty good. But yeah, getting that creamy texture has been nearly impossible.
Check out s'mores. We were actually just talking about this, Rick. So Flavora s'mores, it doesn't taste very much like s'mores at all. It's got kind of like a weird creamy marshmallow body, but then the chocolate itself is like, would you say, Rick, like the ribbons in the chocolate syrup in the ice cream you buy in the store?
Yeah,
Like the chocolate that are run through like the ice cream already in it.
Yeah, it's not like your super high end premium like Ben and Jerry's kind of chocolate, but it's also not like the crap like 2 for $4 like bricks of the ice milk stuff. It's pretty much like the store brand attempt at decent ice cream, and it tastes a lot like that kind of fudge ribbon that they end up using in there. It's surprisingly charming stuff. And on the bright side, I didn't get any coil gore from it, which is really nice.
I do believe you just gave birth to a new term. Coil gore. I like that.
I think I stole that from somewhere. I think there's like a Reddit sub called like Coil Gore with people building like super shitty coils and like people taking pictures of their buddy who hasn't rewicked in 3 months and their wicks are just one solid mass of like carbon and corn syrup. It's fantastic.
That sounds like an awesome series for YouTube. Coil Gore.
I don't have any shoes near me, Joel Rayner, so I won't be putting any on my head today. But I appreciate your candor there. That's interesting. I've never had anybody ask me to put a shoe on my head before.
Well, here you go. There you go, bud.
Look at that. Shit, that's bad. Clayton, you did it. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah, I think s'mores actually has the most potential maybe to replace milk chocolate in like the really milky chocolate kind of way. It's got a lot of potential for it. I need to test it some more. I know that you think I'm crazy for taking it up to 3%, but it's another one of those sort of weird range things, you know, where it's good under 1 and under 1.25, and then it's kind of got an awkward range, and then back up to 3%, and it's good. It gets a little more full-bodied, and it loses the marshmallow when you take it that high. Like the marshmallow kind of falls by the wayside, and like it just gets to like a thicker creaminess, a little more thick consistency. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I ended up liking it more than I did, and I'm more than willing to cede the whole 3% thing. That's part of the drawback of my testing method is I don't end up steeping some of those higher percentages. So yeah, after a while, that could honestly end up being fantastic. It's a really charming flavor, though. I'm just not sure. Like I don't get any graham cracker out of it whatsoever. I mean, maybe just a little bit of like the gritty texture, but nothing that I'd actually associate with an actual graham cracker flavor.
No, I get a tiny bit of grain, but I have to agree with you. There's no graham. I don't get any graham cracker out of it at all. Yeah, none whatsoever. All right, well, we've about hit our hour here. Any last minute questions from the chat? Our shitty DIY juice. Is that still a thing? I like that. That was fun.
Yeah, it's still a thing and it's glorious. It's a whole bunch of people wanting to add food flavorings to stuff. It's fantastic.
So it's like a bunch of dudes talking about they could vape McCormick's, right?
Yeah, the funny thing is shitty ECR just seems like a normal ECR. DIY e-juice just seems like the normal DIY e-juice form from like 3 years ago.
Man, that used to be a thing. Like every fucking day there was some guy coming in with like a handful of flavors he bought at fucking Walmart with some Humco VG asking what to do, you know, and I'm like, oh God, every day. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh, you Redditors.
What does the best one-shot concentrate make? I'm not sure exactly what they mean. Who has the best one-shot? I mean, there's like thousands of one-shots on the market in the UK, but Wayne pretty much is the only one-shot guy in the US right now. But that's going to change soon, so hopefully there'll be some more. I think OSDIY has a little bit more. They're starting to pick up a selection of one-shots from Chef's Flavors now. Is that? Yeah, it's DIY. One stop
yeah,
DIY.
I'm in discussions. I know a few people are in discussions with them for the US.
Yeah, I need to go harass him. So Kimberly, if you're watching, I'm coming. All right, it's been fun. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for watching. We're calling it for the night. I got some shit to do. I gotta go, do Mother's Day stuff and things. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Rick and Clayton and the rest of the MixLife and EJM crew for showing up every week. And next week I will not be here, so Adam will be running the show with somebody probably. I don't know who. We haven't covered that yet. We haven't figured it out yet. But have a good night. It's been fun.
Go hug your mom. Definitely go hug your mom.
But don't say Happy Mother's Day. Just be weird about it. Then walk away sad like you're going to die.
Yeah, and if you have kids with your wife tonight, make sure you lay on top of her. Just
yeah. Put the pillow over her face first.
A little forceful love.
No, I don't, Dave. There's a bear outside that I think might be my mother, but I'm not sure.
That got dark really quick.
Jeez, motherfuckers.